Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly GSG Talk, the place where we get to know a little bit more about our fellow streams. What do they look like for some of them? What's their name about? What's their background about? And many things more. I am today. Oh my God. I am today with very few vocabulary abilities, but I am joined with Mr. Luquado and Mr. Mitchell Leonard. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing great.
Doing well.
Nice. Everyone in the chat, hello. Thank you, Calculator, for that set. Sorry for not being live a little bit earlier. We were fighting technology as we always do. So, guys, the way we usually start these interviews is by asking you about the story behind your names. You both have, I think, Mitchell. Well, let's get you to answer that. What's the story behind your names? Let's start by Luquado, and when I ask a question, and then let's go to Mitchell. Let's do that for every question.
Sounds good. I wish I had a really dope story about my name, but I've been Luquado since 1994. That's a name that I picked out back when I was 14 years old, and I like to say that it comes from lefchos, which is a Greek word meaning like purity and brightness and things like that. But it also has some other meanings, which in today's political climate are not as appropriate, that it could be misinterpreted. So now you heard it here first. Luquado comes from loquacious because I talk too damn much. That's where it come from. That's what we're going to say. But no, it was a neologism. Cool. It's an invented word, basically, that I came up with.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, how about you, Mitchell?
It's a really long story, so I won't go into the whole thing, but it's basically my name with two X's.
Oh, dude.
Because if you put Mitchell and Leonard together, it's just super confusing, and the three L's in the middle throw everybody off. So instead of putting spaces in there, I just put X's, and that's the whole story.
I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Mitchell XX Leonard, but I have also seen Mitchell YY Leonard. YY.
Yeah, it's an evolution. You know, It goes forward and backwards. It depends on how I'm feeling in my state of biology. It can go up to Y or sometimes down to G or down to B. It just depends on where I feel like I'm at as a human.
Follow-up question. Are you going to go after Elon Musk and Twitter for the X?
For the X?
That seems like it's your thing.
Probably yes. I think that. Hold on, let me write this down. Go after Elon Musk. That's a pretty good idea. I think maybe take a couple weeks off and chase that dream.
Yeah, sounds like a nice hobby.
Be a pretty big line to go after Elon Musk. I think that line would go around the building a few times. So.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
When did you guys start streaming? I think you both have less than a year here, right?
I started my first music stream was April 19th. And I had done a couple like production streams, 2 or 3 production streams before that. So April of this year. Yeah.
I started 2 years ago, roughly. I think April 2021. But I started on Facebook, which was pretty miserable. And then I went on what was it called? IGTV? Was that what it was called?
No, yeah, that breathe the hot seconds they had.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried a bunch of stuff and it was very unsatisfying. It felt like it was nothing special at all. And then I had a friend that started DJing on Twitch, and then I just immediately I fell in love. I felt like it was more of an event. There was engagement, like people were there to really check you out. So it's been about 2 years, I think.
And what did you guys did musically before you started with Twitch?
Oh, how far back do you want me to go? After I taught myself piano, and then I was a session cat for a bit, and I played in funk and jazz bands when I was a teenager. And then I also played saxophone in jazz and funk bands. Then I fronted a rock jam type band in Ohio. Then I did some electronic music, ghost produced some hip hop, continued with the electronic stuff, then moved to New York City, where my wife and I started New York Holiday Singers. We're a contemporary a cappella holiday music. So it's kind of like caroling, but way cooler, and we don't wear the costumes. So we've been performing, doing that for about 10, 12 years, and done a lot of performing all over New York City and on TV and radio and stuff like that. And realized I missed the electronic music, and Twitch gave me the opportunity to get back into it.
Nice. I played when I was a kid. I played in bands, but I grew up in kind of a small town. So all that were available were rock bands to play in.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like I like a lot of rock music, but I don't like it as much as I like electronica and hip hop, really.
Nice.
So it was funny, like, as an extension of that, as a side note, I am finally playing the music that I've always wanted to play, like after decades of playing music. But so I played in different bands, and then I kind of let music go for a while. Like I had a different lifestyle, like I had a good career and a house and all these things. I wasn't really doing music, and I was pretty miserable. I was drinking a lot. Like I wasn't really my best self. So I let go of all that when I moved to New York and just started playing music again. I got involved in playing with some cover bands and doing some other stuff and kind of getting back into it. So that's
Where are
been
you from, Mitchell?
my journey. I'm from Phoenix.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
Not technically a small town, but it's a small town, like if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
And where are you from, Luquado?
I'm from Canton, Ohio, originally.
Nice. But you both live now in the state of New York.
Mm-hmm.
We do. How far away are we from each other, you think?
We're not really that far. Are you in Bushwick?
I'm in Bed-Stuy, yeah.
Bed-Stuy, yeah. And I'm in Astoria, Queens. So I think by cab, we'd probably be 20 minutes away. But if we had to take the train, it'd be like an hour and a half.
And this is the age we live in, have not met in real life.
Yes, we have
lots of texting.
We will have to rectify that at some point.
Later, we'll have to meet up in real life. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
When you started streaming, did you saw any streamer that inspired you to start doing music? Because music is not the most common thing here on Twitch.
Absolutely. Manina Noor, Kenneth is Missing a Note, Notes from Underground, Dan Tremblay, and a bunch of DJs very much inspired me. And then Mitchell too. When I saw some of Mitchell's stuff, I was like, that's the sound. That's so dope. That's so cool. It was actually the first Cultural Overtones though that Manina had set up, which I think was the 20th, April 20th. Going back through the VODs from that, being like, yeah, I'm feeling this. I had actually never really done live ambient music ever, or ambient or melodic ever in my life. Like it was kind of just what I did when I'd be experimenting and improvising just to come up with ideas. I had never played that out for people before. So it was terrifying, and seeing these musicians doing their thing and just going for it was so incredibly inspiring. So, but the big ones, the first week that I was streaming, and Charlie from Plus Six Productions. So it was Manina, Kenneth, primarily Notes as well, and then Charlie, Mitchell, etc.
Nice.
So I came in, I got involved with the shrimp kind of through the Doom family, through Loki Doom and all those. Like those are the first people I connected with on Twitch. I actually made myself homework to, like, after I've been streaming for a couple of weeks, like go find other people and figure out what's going on this platform. So I found them, and I was really into, or am really into, Skulzy P, Toto Robin. Like those are the people that I first saw and were like, wow, this is really cool, innovative stuff. And these people are really putting themselves out there on Twitch. You know what I'm saying? They're taking chances and doing some new cool stuff. And then when I got into the Shrimp Guild, it's kind of like too many to name. There were a lot of people that I found I liked. I mean, I liked Rich Quick, like was one of the first people that I really took after, because he does a lot of like slice and dice. He does a lot of like loops, chopping loops and tweaking loops. And that's something as a mechanical player that I'm now trying to get into, as I want to incorporate different stuff in there. So medium answer, maybe too late for that, is that I find different streamers inspirational for different reasons, because they're doing stuff that I want to learn how to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that all tracks. And Totes, yeah, the Toto Robin. Thanks for calling out Toto Robin as well. Like, it's so interesting every stream. Like, you don't know where you're necessarily going to get, and it's so cool. Just the breadth of musical ability there is so incredible to see. Like, I love that kind of stuff.
Yes, we love Toto. We surely do. What would you say is your favorite musical style?
Ooh. These days?
Yeah, these days.
Nowadays, you know, no, right? Because of my work, I end up listening to a lot of like progressive house and progressive trance. So I've gravitated toward a lot of those DJs as well. I don't listen to a lot of jazz anymore. Jazz and funk, I don't listen to that as much anymore because it's become a lot more academic than it used to be.
It's true.
I was used to be a club boy, and I had blue hair, and I released a trance album back in the day. So I was really into like trance and stuff like that in like 2003, 2004, and then for a while afterward. But it's just like, it's a bit extra when I'm trying to work. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a bit much. Yeah. So that, and lately having gotten into the generative ambient stuff like that, I'm a big fanboy for BT, the producer, and he did an album, Sabrosa, that is like a masterpiece of modular and sound synthesis and stuff like that. And so I really enjoyed a lot of his catalog over the years.
Yeah, I like a lot of. I'm mostly listening to, like I said, I mostly listen to electronic and hip hop. I'm kind of more into electronica now. I like those two genres especially because the new stuff is still happening. Like I grew up with rock, and I have a lot of Bushwick friends or a lot of New York friends that are still playing rock music. But I'm like, nothing. I might be missing something. I don't know everything about everything. But when I hear new stuff, I'm like, that could be 40 years old. Nothing's happened. And like, even when people, here's what I love about music, especially hip hop, even when people are like, that's terrible. I'm like, but it's new. Like no one has done that before. And that's what I love about it. Yeah. And the same thing happens with electronica as well, is that people are coming up with just new ways to freak people out. And I think that really speaks to me, because I grew up listening to punk music and some stuff when a big part of my relationship with music is kind of pushing the envelope and doing things that really wake you up and kind of excite you because they're new. So those are kind of what I'm into. To break it down into subgenre of house, you could, I mean, what are there, 700,000 different house genres?
Ishtar's Guide no longer is even updated with all the subgenres of electronic music.
Is there a guide?
There used to be. It was called Ishtar's Guide, ISHTUR. It's still around. Guide to Electronic Music. And and it used to break down every subgenre of electronic. And nowadays it's just ridiculous. If you go to everynoise.com and look at what Spotify has for its genres, it's insane. So yeah, there's so many subgenres.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Big booty house. No, I don't know.
If I keep eating pizza, I will be performing my first Big Booty House concerts in a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to it.
Nice.
Yeah. You can get tickets. What would you say is the biggest thing you had, or the most difficult thing you had to learn in order to be a streamer? What's the thing that has challenged you the most?
For me, right before the pandemic, I started building my rig out here to be able to be a live rig. So I already kind of had the ergonomics the way I wanted them, but I've been tweaking it. And now that I'm streaming, and I have a very small space. So for me, the most challenging thing was just figuring out control, immediacy and accessibility of control. And I don't know if I have. I do. Okay. So I have, a launch pad. I got the launch pad. What is that? The X that has the custom layouts and stuff like that. So figuring out how to script Ableton to be able to easily do the things in my 30 tracks I have, or my 40 tracks, to be able to easily route anything to anything has been a lifelong dream of mine. To be able to route any keyboard, any device, any keyboard, any other keyboard, to be able to just have flexible routing so that I'm not limited by my tool set, so I don't have to think about it too much. If I'm here on this piano, I'm going to just switch that over and I'm going to play this now. Or if I'm over here, like that type of a thing. So that was the biggest challenge, that and some weird CPU issues for me overall.
I think my biggest challenge when I started streaming was learning to just let go and be cool with what happened. Like I come at this from a different angle of a lot of the shrimps that I know, and that I don't. We were talking about this earlier. I don't improvise I don't improvise a set. I improvise within a song, but I have my sets like kind of mapped out, 8 or 10 songs that I'm going to do, and then when I get into the rhythm of the song, I'll mess around a lot. So, just coming from my past of doing music production and stuff like that, it's very hard for me to just be like, it'll be what it is. Just have fun with it. Let it go. Like just play. And that was kind of tough for me because when you start out, like there's so many technical things to overcome, and your sounds, or at least my sound, wasn't very good. Like the quality, the cameras, all that stuff. So I had to just let go and let the process evolve organically week after week, and not just try and control it. too much, or to be too hard on myself, or be
Mhm.
like done and be like, oh, that was terrible and looks bad and all that stuff. So that was a big
The
challenge.
the ephemerality of Twitch is really attractive.
Yeah.
The fact that it's ephemeral. It's a moment in time that exists with you and your viewers. And the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't quite go the way that you wanted, and then so you don't publish your VOD.
Yeah.
That's really freeing in so many ways compared to other types of performance.
Right.
Yeah, that's also maybe a lesson for every type of art. Where you have to let go if you're a painter, if you're a writer. If you try to speculate a lot about what you're doing, you're probably going to censor yourself in the long run. We have questions from the audience. Sub Kathy, who's is her first time here, so welcome to her, says, "How do y'all stay motivated, and has that changed over the years?" I believe that's about music itself, not so much about streaming.
For me, the motivation has always been connection with people. As much as I can have a real connection with listeners, because if I'm doing it strictly for myself, then I don't need to stream. I don't need to do it in public, and I can just create music for the four walls. So performing in public and streaming and all of that is about that connection and the shared story that we have. And that has always been my guiding light. So sometimes I've lost the motivation to do my own music because of life things, my job being crazy. I did a startup and that kind of stuff. But when I come back to it, that core is always there. That connection, that interpersonal connection is what keeps me going.
Nice.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's a big part of, there have been phases in my life where I was unmotivated because I was drawn kind of into other areas or drawn to other things, or my life just wasn't as musically centered as it is now. But now I feel like I don't have issues with it because I'm doing so many things. I'm moving so fast. I'm doing YouTube videos. I'm working on a Spotify release, and I'm doing the stream. So it's like, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. I just have too many engagements. And every time I get online, there's another event to play. Every time I sit down for a couple hours and mess around, I come up with a new idea. So the ball just won't stop rolling. But a big part of what Luquado said is really this community. And I know I say this a lot, especially in my streams, but this is no bullshit. Like, being in this community and being able to have other people that encourage your momentum and to see other people grow and stuff, it's massive, because it can get so lonely as an artist when you don't have that connection. And sometimes you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I should just be hanging out on the beach. Like a live artist, you go and sometimes you play and there's 7 people and 4 people leave and you're just like, so the connection, especially the connection within this community, has been massive in just keeping me going, and keeping me with things to do, projects to work on, people to meet, all that stuff.
Nice. Yeah, there's an African saying that goes, by yourself you can go faster, but with others you can go for longer. So it's something like that.
If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We have another question from Lady Halina. A very nice question. She asks, have you ever had stage fright and froze a couple of moments while performing live? And what do you do to get out of that jam? This has happened to everyone that's live performed somehow. So you probably have some answers.
I have a confession that I rarely get nervous. I was really into theater when I was younger. So I guess maybe when I was like a teenager, I'd get nervous about that kind of stuff. But because of New York Holiday Singers, I mean, one of our groups, we opened for Pentatonics. So we were singing in front of 6,000 people, 3 nights, We've been on Good Morning America singing live to 14 million people watching, and I honestly, hand to God, I don't get stage fright anymore. The closest thing to it, this is a confession, the closest thing to it was my shrimp Sunday I did. My first shrimp Sunday, where I called it Bring the Beat Back, because it was the first time I was bringing full electronic songs to my stream. And I was a freaking wreck. Like the 48 hours, because I was under rehearsed. Mitchell, I'm sure you can sympathize with this. I was totally under rehearsed. It was my first time going into a stream being like, I have a set list. I have the songs I want to hit, and it involved bringing my old synth out of storage. I had all these crazy things I was coordinating, and I was totally under rehearsed. And going into that stream, I was wigging out. I almost had a panic attack. I almost canceled my stream, y'all. I was almost like, I can't do it. I have technical issues. I'm not used to having stage fright, Lady Avenue. Like I'm not used to that feeling. But then I'll tell you how I got past it. And it's the same thing I do for any of our holiday singer stuff, even when I know it's going to be millions of people. It's the ritual. So about 25 minutes before my stream, the ritual took over. And it was just a sense of calm and a sense of peace. And I just followed the same steps that I always follow. 20 minutes before my stream starts, I make sure everything's ready to go. 10 minutes before the stream starts, I put on my starting soon screen, and I go and I brew myself a cup of coffee. And following the ritual allowed the reflexive part of my body to take over, the steps to follow, as opposed to my brain thinking constantly. And that was when a wave of peace washed over me, being like, it's going to be what it's going to be. And that's all I can do at this point. I've done everything I can, because I feel like stage fright comes from a place of concern that you didn't prepare enough, and also concern about what the people are going to think. And getting past that, for me, it's the ritual that helps me get past that every single time.
That's a nice advice. I think there's behaviorism psychology. I think you call it in English. It involves that if you control your behavior, your mind will follow your behavior. We always try to do the other way around. Think about things and then do it. But it seems that if you first do your thing, then your mind will go, okay, we're rolling. We don't need to think right now. That's a nice advice. How about you?
Mitchell. Yeah, what was going to say?
Well, I'm nervous all the time. Like whenever I perform, doesn't matter. I'm not kidding. Like I'm the exact opposite of you, Luquado. Like I'm nervous right now doing this interview. Like I'll be nervous when I stream later tonight. Like, I mean, obviously it's not crippling, but I'm nervous every time I stream and perform. So I learned something just performing live a few years ago, because I started playing in cover bands for extra money, and I would have to learn these volumes of music overnight.
Yeah.
I'd get to a gig and they'd be like, oh, we're doing this song in D. And I'm like, I've never heard this song.
Oh, yeah.
So it was about the time I started practicing meditation. So I learned to breathe through it. So when I would meditate, I would focus on my breath, and I would focus on the cycle of my breath. So when I would make a mistake or something I feel like threw me off, or when I'm trying to play a passage, I don't know how it's going to go, I literally do that. I breathe through it. I take a really deep breath as I'm going into it, and then I take a really long exhale as I'm performing. And if I do that, if I continue that cycle of breathing and I slow it down, I can get through it. I can figure out where to pick up. I can figure out where to start again. But I literally breathe through it. I literally take a long cycle of breath, or 3 or 7 or 20, until... And if you do that enough, I mean, I don't know any science behind it, but if you do that enough, it calms you down. Like it naturally calms you down. So sooner or later, you're like, okay, we're cool.
It's almost like a mindfulness meditation. Like mindfulness is such a huge thing. Just being present in the moment, like not trying to avoid the moment through your breathing and your meditation, but just being present.
Yeah. And also, I mean, how exciting is that? Like, seriously, if you freeze and you are like completely overwhelmed by it, just being in that moment and understanding in this moment right now, this feeling is so powerful, and just observe the feeling and kind of get into it. Be like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And when you start to observe the feeling and appreciate the fact of what's happening, like this is human and I'm alive and I'm freaking out right now, it kind of naturally, it generates some kind of a positive energy for it, where you're like, well, this is what's happening, everybody. So let's enjoy it.
That's a really good quote, Soup Katie, by the way.
Yes, it's also kind of the reason why we get into art, right? We like excitement. That's the main thing about art. It excites you. Maybe sometimes it's too much, but that's the goal every time we do that. Let's talk gear. Can we talk gear a little bit? I've asked both of you to prepare your cameras for this. So for all the gear nerds that we have on chat, and there are a lot of them, let's see what you have in your studio, and let's see how you have it hooked up, please.
All right, I'll do the best I can here. Let's see. This is a recently updated setup. It's going to be updating some more. So right now I've got a 10U rack unit under my Roland System 8. I got the Roland System 8 the day before my first stream, and I immediately threw it into the stream because I freaking love this thing. But in my rack, I've got a Mio XL MIDI router, a bunch of power supplies, 3 audio interfaces that I'm using the ADAT4 into an RME Digiface USB. So I have the Apogee Element 88, a Focusrite 18i20, and one of those Behringer 88-8200 interfaces. Then I've got a Great River preamp for my mic that I just brought over from my studio rack into my live rack for my microphone, in-ear monitors, and then my Yamaha TG500. It's a rack mount version of my original synth that I still have, my Yamaha SYD5 from 1992.
Nice.
I love that. So whenever people ask, Dan has asked this, several people have asked, that pad sound, where can I get that pad sound? I'm like, go back to 1992 and buy a vintage synthesizer or a rack mount unit from Reverb like I did. Then we've got my main keyboard here is a Kawai MP7 SC. I've never had a stage piano like this in my life. I always played on jankier ones, and I adore it. I absolutely love this thing. It's some of the best piano action I've ever had in a controller. An MPK 249 that I just recently incorporated. The Launch Control XL, which you know Beta loves that launch control. My push, which doesn't get as much love as it should. I don't really do too much on it. An MC707 that I brought in for bring the beat back stream, but doesn't have a place in ambient. A Behringer TD3, which isn't hooked up right now and floating around elsewhere, is also a Commodore 64, my original Commodore 64 from like 1985. That I've got the Messiah cartridge in it to turn it into a MIDI instrument, which is really, really cool. A Waldorf Blofeld, and my Korg Minilogue is floating around. Microphone, I've talked about this before on stream and in chat, is a Vanguard V13 tube mic. Absolutely awesome for the price. You can't beat it. And then, of course, the launch pads. So that's my current setup here. The SYD5 is in storage right now. I only bring it up occasionally when I need to sample it or something like that.
Nice.
The whole goal is to route everything everywhere. Oh, I've got the foot controller too. To route everything everywhere. So I've got shortcuts set up on the Launchpad with CliffX Pro in Ableton, as well as some shortcuts set up with a foot controller with the Mio XL to switch between presets.
Nice.
Where's the hot plate? I don't see it.
The hot plate is just off camera.
Oh, okay.
As is my cigar friginator, which I took a wine fridge. This is true, folks. I took a wine fridge and I set it to like 66 degrees, and I have like the cedar shelving in there for all my cigars as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
It works perfectly, and I can keep them there for years. So, you know. Anyway,
Are you could you smoke a cigar in the studio? Is that going to mess up your stuff?
In this one, I wouldn't. I have a crazy air purifier in here that I could crank up. I also have like 4 pipes because I used to smoke pipes when I was a teenager, like tobacco pipes. And so I've got those sitting in here too. But I wouldn't smoke in here because of the vocal booth too. The vocal booth would just absorb everything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, yeah.
That would be a gangster move though, for sure.
I know, right?
Light up a fat cigar.
Yeah, right. So that's my setup.
Nice. How about you, Mitchell? What do you have going on?
This is really simple. I'm kind of like, I'm coming from an opposite standpoint where I'm trying to get more into gear to kind of expand my sound as I go. Bless you. So this is a Yamaha CP88, which I really like on the bottom. It feels amazing. I actually got it used, and I've been looking for this keyboard forever because I can't show you really from the way these are set up, but it has all these switches with which you can layer live. Like I can put on layers, I can put on effects and everything without having to go through menus and sub menus, which is massive for me. So this is my bottom board, which is kind of my bedrock. This always does piano sounds, Rhodes organs, like more organic keyboard sounds on this. And this is my go-to if I screw up or freak out or, I don't know where I am in a song or I go off time or something glitches, I just go here and I can get through and catch my breath and figure out where I'm going from there. This up here is the Juno DS. This is old, but it's really retained its value. You look online and these things haven't dropped a penny in like 7 years. So this is where I do all my vocoder stuff and I have a lot of patches in here, but I'm also a big VST guy. Like this board over here allows me to kind of put all my VSTs in here. And this is all my like super poppy electronica sounds, like everything's drenched in reverb or has like a massive flange on it, usually comes up here. A lot of top lines on this board. So I alternate between these and then I just use patches up here. I'm total dog eye. Like I know a lot of people don't use DAWs and aren't into DAWs, but
Yeah.
I like it. I make up some things ahead of time and then just score my DAWs from here. I don't do whole songs that are pre-programmed and like push a button and play along with it. I have my parts all up here so I can stay on a part for a little bit longer if I feel it, or I can take things that are out. But the number one thing I want to show you, which is insanity, are these pedals. So down here, I don't know how well you can see it, but I have 3 sustain pedals for these 3 keyboards. This one I work with my left foot. This one I work with my right foot. And the one for the mini board, I work with my right heel. So I rock it back and forth depending on what I'm trying to sustain. And it works now. Like I've been doing it for a year, so I kind of got it down. But sometimes I'm still like playing and I'm like, oops, wrong keyboard. Oops, that's not it. It's kind of a good litmus test for how well I'm doing is if I can remember which pedals, like which part of which foot does which thing. But it's chaos. It's a disaster. I don't even know why I do it.
Well, you've seen me on my streams. Like I like mash on one of my pedals. I have it set up in reverse mode on the System 8 because when I'm doing the arpeggiator and stuff like that,
right.
I reverse it. And this is why when I first joined, I think it was the Shrimp Discord. When I first joined, somebody was modding a switch to be able to a TRS switch, and I'm like, I'm thinking of actually modding to be able to reverse it. I'm thinking of actually doing that so I don't have to like go into the menu on the System 8 to switch the polarity of the pedal, and instead just reach back and switch it to like permanent sustain mode.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten around to having time to do that yet. But yeah, that cracks me up. Yeah, I've got about 4 sustain pedals chilling down here. So yeah. I hear you on that. Did you ever play organ, Mitchell?
It's a mess. Yeah, I tried for a little bit. I didn't have an organ in proximity enough to really learn it because it just takes a while. It takes so long to get everything down.
It does. I never got good at like working all the stops and all the registers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but the foot pedals were just like freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And a childhood friend, asked me to play organ at their wedding, and I was like, improvising too. I did like the songs I was supposed to do, but like for the entrance and exit music, the killing time, I was improvising, and I managed to sneak an organ version of "Don't Stop Believing" in there. And my sister-in-law noticed it. She like looks back because I'm up in the choir loft. She looks back. She's like, she's the only one that caught it that I was doing. Because think about it, those bass pedals that you have on the organ, right? Ba 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 ba. Yeah, making it all sound like holy and religious and stuff like that. Yeah. Because you should never stop believing, folks.
Right, it works. The lyrics work.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that your favorite instrument is the piano for both of you?
Yeah, a live acoustic piano. I was lucky. I was traveling when Mr. Spock, I don't know if Mr. Spock's is in the chat, but Mr. Spock did the Gemini Rebirth raid that he did for the birthday. And so I was traveling to Ohio and staying at my brother's house, and I asked my brother, I'm like, hey, can I bring some of my stuff and stream from your house? He said, yeah, sure. I'll tune the piano for you. And it was a Yamaha Baby Grand, and it was just like, it was fun to mic it and to get it set up, like to use some of my studio skills from back in the day.
I remember.
Taking like my pencil condensers and all of that. And the sound was not quite right. The recording I did of it was peaking, so I had to try to salvage it, but it was so freaking awesome because there's just something about that sound coming off the board in your face that I don't care how good your stage piano is, it just never has that. Being able to like work the vibrations, or even being able to reach in and actually pluck the strings too and do that kind of stuff. So I'd say that live piano is probably my favorite thing to noodle on. But this setup is the closest thing to a dream. If I could go back in time to when I got my S1 saved up and got it when I was 12 years old, if I could go back in time and show that Luquado what Luquado has 31 years later, that Luquado's head would explode. Basically, this is almost as close to a dream setup as I have.
That's strange. The DAWs never get a good grand piano. They can get the best modulator in town, but there's never. Why is that? Why do you think that happens? It can't be that hard.
It's a subtle instrument. It's kind of like you don't have really good guitar sounds either in a lot of VST. And I use a ton of VSTs. I've got like 4 different pianos I use, including the built-in piano on the Kawai, which is my main, like my real piano. But then I've got effect pianos. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Okay, help me out with this then, because this is exactly what I'm looking for right now. So I'm tracking for this album that I want to release next year. And I'm doing something that I cannot play successfully for 5 minutes and just track the audio. So I have to track it MIDI. So I can track it and then go in there and take some notes out and adjust some velocities and stuff. So I have the native instruments. I don't know, the Grandeur or whatever that I've used. I've messed around a little bit with Keyscape, but I'm looking for what's the best piano VST out there as far as a nice what do you call it, verbant sound.
Asarias,
my buddy, yeah.
Yeah, it's named in Piano Tech. I've used it, and it's very light, so that's always good, and it sounds very good. It's only for pianos.
Piano, yeah.
What was it called again?
Piano Tech.
It's
okay.
It's a model based as opposed to a sample based piano VST, a physical modeling piano VST, which is really, really cool, and it does sound nice for certain things. Mitchell, basically, like, this is a conversation you and I can have separately, because there are so many out there, depending on the exact type of vibe that you're going for too.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, it's like, what do you want out of it? But I am just super picky and super weird about when I sit down. I sat down at a Casio once that was $900 a guitar sound. I'm like, this has a great piano sound. Like, the keyboard was kind of garbage, but the piano sound itself, like, it was really good. So it's tough. I don't know. So I'm going to look into some different things like Omnisphere, because I think is what everybody's throwing at me. And then there are a handful of others I keep.
I used Ivory for years too. And then back in the day, it was before they got bought by, or before they started getting included in Native Instruments. It was the DE, that was the Galaxy 2.
Okay.
I used that for years and years because I loved that it had the resonance filters, the sympathetic vibrations, and the pedal noises, which back then was like crazy.
Yeah.
One of the best pianos to this day still that I listened to old recordings of that I had done was, y'all ever use Giga Studio? Giga Studio was like one of the first streaming from disc sample players back in the early 2000s, I want to say. And their piano was meticulously sampled. Nowadays, it probably wouldn't hold up. I might just be looking at it with rose-colored sunglasses. But Mitchell, I'm like you. I'm like super duper picky about my real piano sounds. Yeah. And I haven't done any piano driven stuff since 2012, where I did like a piano pop rock type album. And for that, I did use the Galaxy primarily, Galaxy 2.
I'll look it up.
Nice.
But your favorite instrument, Mitchell?
Yeah.
I don't know. I work a job. I have to work a job like 40, 50 hours a week. That has nothing to do with music. And I like my job. Same. It's not like I hate it. Yeah. But I haven't been able to even determine what my favorite instrument is, because I haven't been able to. The time that I have, which is 2-3 hours a day, I have to spend practicing and working on sets and work. I don't have to, but that's what I choose to do. So I would like to. I play a little guitar. I play like basic chords on guitar, but I've always wanted to play the drums. I wish there was more time and I could learn more instruments, and then I would be able to answer that question. But piano's the only thing I really know. And I definitely made a choice a couple years ago when I was studying guitar of like, you know what, I'm going to focus on piano because there's so much stuff that I want to be able to play. So I kind of made that choice. Do you want to be a multi-instrumentalist, or do you want to just focus on one area? And I chose to just stay with the
guitar. Is like the one instrument I know I have one hanging on my wall.
Yeah, look at this.
But guitar is like, I used to be able to pick up almost any instrument and figure it out. And guitar, violin, cello, viola, any string instrument just did not work with my brain. It, to this day, like I kept the guitar. I had an acoustic and a bass as well. Sold those because I'm just like, I'm never going to learn how to play this. I don't have enough hours in the day to freaking learn them. Yeah. So like for ambient, I can do like some long chords. If you ever hear like electric guitar in any of my stuff, you know that I've looped the absolute hell out of it.
What about your voice though? That came up in the chat. I think Lady Helena, your voice is a fantastic instrument.
Oh, thank you.
So could that be your favorite instrument perhaps?
It's not. I've never loved my voice. I finally started taking voice lessons.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I finally started taking voice lessons like 2 years ago for the first time. And because I sang bass in our a cappella groups, and it was like like that type of stuff, you know, like vocal bass type effects. The way I arrange for 4-part voice too, the bass part is always more of a bass line as opposed to like barbershop type stuff, you know, because I want it to be funky and jazzy and groovy. And that like really spoke to me. And that was all I did. I was a technical singer in that regard. I mean, Mitchell, you live in New York, and kid, you know, where you've been a producer too, where you live. These phenomenal singers, these phenomenal soloists. God, yeah. Like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could riff. I wish I could do R&B. But the ambient stuff has really kind of just let me do my thing the way that I like, that I can do it. And that's,
Yeah.
and then taking voice lessons, my voice teacher was like, you're a tenor 1, right? I'm going to say, what now? So yeah, I found out that I'm a tenor 1. So it's been fun to explore my upper register, which I hadn't done in 30 years. So.
Yeah. And that's also nice that you have the ability to, like, what you do is unique. So your voice can fit into that unique niche. You don't have to compare yourself with other people,
right?
Because what you do is kind of a unique thing that you can continue to practice and develop. You know what I'm saying? And then and that becomes, you can kind of focus on, I want to be the best at, or I want to be, a better singer at this kind of music specifically.
Yeah, but you'll hear on my stream sometimes I'll go for something and I shouldn't have gone for it because I'm improvising too, and I get like really in the moment, and it's like I forget to sing softly and I start really pushing it, and I start going up there. Like last night, I was like sitting on a B flat, which is pretty wild actually. Sitting on a B flat, and I did want to flex a little bit, so I also dropped it down to a low C below the bass clef. So I did like the whole 3-octave range of my range. But sometimes I push it and I try to go even higher, and I'm going full throat, and I don't make it. And I'm like, whoop, that was a stinker. If you listen to my show recordings, you'll hear me sometimes like croak up there. I'm like, whoop, that was a bad idea, and I immediately regret it. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You got to go for those though when you're streaming. Sometimes you just got to go for it.
Sometimes you just got to let it rip, right?
I used to play with this drummer that would start a fill. And we'd be like, is he going to land it? I don't know. 70-30. Like 30% of the time, he would not land it on time. So, but we're always like, live show. Let's go, man. Go for it.
We have
sorry for that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, no offense to any drummers in the chat. I love drummers. Drums were probably my first love, actually, before piano. But I never. My parents were like, absolutely not. So yeah.
We have a question from the chat. We have Boss Modular who's asking about portable gear. If you had to choose, if you were going on a trip and you had to choose some instrument to throw in your backpack, which one would it be?
I took my MC707 to Cancun.
Wait, which one? Can you show
my
it?
MC? It's it's the Roland, the MC707. I love this freaking thing, but I don't use it on my streams very much. It's got its deck saver on it right here. This thing. Probably that is what it used to be. Nowadays, I would take my laptop and my key step. I've got the key step 37, not the Pro, just the regular 37. I'll just toss that in my bag. And I was on my trips, Mitchell, I was telling you about the Phoenix and Dallas. I actually regretted not taking it. I was like, damn, I really wish I had that in my hotel room when I'm just kind of chilling here. I'd like to work on some tunes. Having the laptop now, because I'm a DAW guy. I'm a Logic guy. Ableton, I used for the first time on my first stream, basically. So I've been learning it as I go. But yeah, I'm a big DAW guy. So I would absolutely take the laptop with Logic. I guess Ableton too. That would be fine. And the key step at this point. But the MC707, there's something about that model, that way of working, that while you still have to menu dive a lot, I talk about this a lot in my streams where I'm not playing music. Twyla Tharp is a choreographer. Don't know if you've heard of Twyla. A modern choreographer. And Twyla Tharp wrote a book that I love and I recommend to everyone called The Creative Habit. Use it and learn it and use it for life. And one of the things Twyla talked about was placing limitations on yourself, because if you have a total blank slate and all of the resources in the world, it can be detrimental to the creative process. So the thing I like about the MC707 and traveling with it is that it is extraordinarily limited in what it can do and what its workflow is like. And that does seem to bring creativity out. That's my long answer for a simple question. Sorry.
I think that there's also a quote by Orson Welles. He was asked which kind of movies were his favorites, and he said the ones where he didn't have enough budget because he really had to think about things. So there you go.
Yeah, Kid, you said something as well. I think in your interview, you said, like, as far as gear goes, it's kind of like being creative with what you have and not worrying about piling on piece of gear after piece of gear after piece of gear, kind of finding new energies in what you got.
I also live in Latin America, so that's my only answer.
Okay. I would go laptop though, because I'll work on a plane. Like, I know this is a camping trip. I'm not like a huge camper. I'll go camping every once in a while, but it's cost me so much to afford my apartment. I'm like, why would I want to go and pretend I don't have an apartment? That doesn't make sense to me. I will fuck some shit up on a plane. Like, I was going I heard 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover out at a show or something. And I was like, I got it. When that song started, that drum loop started, I'm like, that's fucking mine. So I was like, okay. So next time I was on a plane, I was like, okay, I'm gonna splice that up. I'm gonna start layering things. And just with my laptop in coach, like trying to keep my elbows from bothering everybody. Like I have the keys on the laptop and I'm setting up new sound. So it's kind of like that is a process that I don't always have the patience to do at home. Because at home, I like to practice and I like to kind of play out things. But when I'm away and all I have is a laptop or maybe a laptop and a little mini board, it's time to start padding it out. It's time to come up with some new ideas, some new layers, and basically steal. That's what I'm like. How many things can I steal from other songs? How many isolated tracks can I strip and then build off of that idea?
You don't have to call it steal. You have to call it inspiration. It's inspiration. Massive amounts of inspiration.
Wasn't it Steve Jobs that was like, good artists create, great artists steal, or something like that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'll take it every day.
But I totally feel you on that, Mitchell. Like when I'm traveling places, if I'm not getting myself good and loaded before I get on the plane, because flying is a terrible experience these days. I'm with you that having the laptop has been so freaking cool. And for a couple of years, I didn't have. I had a Microsoft Surface for a couple of years because my company that I run all my clients. I build other stuff on .NET, on old school .NET. So it's not something I can run on the Mac very well. So I'd gotten rid of my Mac laptop because I didn't need it, and then I missed it. And now that I needed an upgrade, I got another MacBook Pro, and it's just like, yes, it's good to be back. It's good to have Logic on there because I freaking love Logic so much. It's nice to be able to be on the plane and just like work on a beat idea or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, big shout out to Scruffy Fox who has just rated us. Welcome Scruffy, welcome Raiders. We have 9 minutes to go to Lily J's stream. I think this is the most viewed. This is the highest viewer amount. I can't even talk. This is the highest viewer amount of people that we had since we started these GSG talks. We are at 60. So
it gets more and more every week. And a year from now, there'll be 260.
This is an awesome thing. Yeah, this is an awesome thing that
yeah. It will be
these Sundays are so cool. And I always try and make time to tune into the talks as well because I can put them on. I always pick up something. There's always something, a tip or some inspirational stuff that I always get out of these talks.
We're not laughing at you. We're laughing at some immature comment.
Yes, no, it was nice. The comment was nice.
Oh.
So close to nice. Oh, now we lost 6 people. Nah, that's it. That's it. Toilet humor just got the adolescent humor. People are like, done.
You know, if they got offended by that, then they didn't deserve our stream. That's what I tell them.
It's good.
If you can't handle me at night, never mind. I'm not gonna.
Hey, keep the case. Thank you for that. So we have 8 minutes to go. If any of you have any questions for our guest today, also remember that we plan for this in the Discord of the GSG. If you want to be a part of this, or if you want to contribute with any thoughts, with any ideas, you are able to do that. We do this project as we do everything on the GSG. We do it grouply. We don't do. This is not my thing. I'm just trying to handle the boat, but we are all in this together. So if you want to go into the Discord of the GSG and just, give your 2 cents or be a guest, you can. Where is everybody watching from? I don't understand the question. Where in the world? Okay, yeah.
But show some love in the chat for Kid Pochoclo right now. Because he puts a lot of work into making sure these happen. He deals with the artists, which are really hard people to deal with, like consistently. So show some love for this dude for making this happen every week.
Thank you. It's nice. It's a real pleasure for me doing these things. I get to know. I'm a journalist by trade, so this is like the thing I do as a job, and it gives me the insight of what happens behind the streams, which is as interesting as what happens during the streams. So yeah, it's a real pleasure for me. Guys, let's plug your streams. What do you have planned for the next week
For the next week.
or the next month? I don't know.
Tomorrow night is full Sturgeon Moon raid train. Lisa Cuthbert and Mr. Spock organized that. I'm streaming 8 to 10, doing my ambient melodic stuff. And then Fee, who Caffeine is my moderator. We've been trying to figure out what my schedule is going to look like for the next few weeks. I'm probably going to be doing the Wednesday night streams, 3 hours, 7 to 10 Eastern. Probably a Saturday stream at 4 to 6 Eastern. And then I'm probably taking the next week off because that's 808 Fest, isn't it?
Yeah.
808 is coming up, and I've got something very, 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 very special planned for that. Something completely different than anything I've ever done live by myself, and completely different than anything I've done on Twitch. So I forget what my time slot is for that. I know it's all still kind of fluid. So once the final schedule is announced, I hope you all love it because I will probably be nervous again.
Give me a hint. Let's get a hint.
It's 808. So
a hint?
That's
the title.
That's predictable.
That it's 808, and I'm going back to some of my roots. Let's put it that, or my 20s something's roots. Let's put it that way.
You have an actual 808 to use?
No, I don't. I wish I had an 808 and a 909. My brother had it for some reason, and I don't know what the hell he did with it. And I remember asking him, like, dude, what happened to the machines? And he's like, oh, I got rid of those years ago. I'm like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, I would buy that off you, but no, they're gone. So no, I'm gonna have to be using samples. But yeah, Mitchell, how about you? I know you've got your live stream tonight, don't you?
Yeah, tonight. Oh my gosh, I just put out the Lullabies for Electric Minds episode 17 on YouTube, which I'm super, super excited about. I just love that. I put a lot of time into these, and I'm glad that they're kind of progressing. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I tried it a couple weeks ago, and it worked out okay, I guess. So I'm going to do like a listening party where I'm going to play. I'll play a couple songs, but then I want to play the episode and then kind of break down like, okay, here was how I put this song together. Here's my thinking. Here's how I mapped up the set. And then we'll all listen together, and then I play a couple songs after that. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also doing the Sturgeon Moon raid train Monday at midnight, Tuesday morning, and the 808 Fest. Hold on, I've got to ask my moderator if I'm missing anything.
Oh, that's your moderator.
No, I think that's good. He said just plug the YouTube video, and and then trim Sundays kind of from there.
Tell him to see a doctor because he looks a little stressed from work.
Yeah, he really runs it. He does. He runs the mile. Whatever that means.
Lose my mind.
Can you explain the concept behind the thing you do, the electric lullabies?
Oh yeah. Just real quick, because I can't sleep. My whole life I haven't been able to sleep. Like I've been done sleep tests and all this stuff. I won't even go through all this stuff.
We really need to hang out in real life, dude. Like we really need to hang out in real life. Like not just jam. Like we need to do that too. But we like, because I've been through the exact same stuff, and I just got my shit under control.
I don't want to rush it. I feel like we rush it, then maybe in real life I'm really not that cool, and then
just let it happen.
Didn't work out,
just
and then
let it happen. Yeah,
like this could be like the Notebook or the Mailbox or whatever those movies are that people don't. Right? Isn't that a movie where people don't meet in real life with a bus stop or something? I don't know.
Something. Anyway, sorry.
The soap dish. Yeah, so I haven't been able to sleep. So I used to make these mix tape CDs and whatever the time was to try and help myself fall asleep. But I really don't like these Spotify playlists or these playlists where it's like 2 hours of the same style of music. Like change it up. So I like to make mixes that are like some classical, some jazz, some electronic, some all kinds of different stuff. So I make these 20, 25-minute journeys that go through a few different styles, some original, some cover stuff. And the whole idea is that you can space out. You don't have to sleep. It's not this whole like meditation music that is challenging and it's dark and it takes you to different places, but it's a narrative. So you can you can lay down and close your eyes and kind of float along with it and let it take you where it can be, wherever you can be. So even if you don't sleep, you feel like you've been somewhere, like you've left your worries. It's like reading a book. It's like if you can't get your mind off of something and you read and you get into a good book, like all of a sudden you're like, well, I haven't worried about my shit for the last 2 hours. It's the same thing. It's a narrative that should take you kind of away from where you are now and take you on a journey through different places.
If I can fanboy for a little bit,
please,
if I may, if I can fanboy for a little bit, if there's anybody in the chat that hasn't checked that stuff out that Mitchell does, you have to check it out. If it sounds even remotely interesting, anything that you would love, it's so inventive. It's so creative. Even like everything about it, and leaving aside the piano playing, which by the way, Mitchell has gotten this from me multiple times, and I'm going to say it in public too. Like, I love Mitchell's piano playing. Like, I love your chops. I love what you do with it. I love the sound on the CP88. I love everything about it. But like, leaving even that aside, the whole sound design, the whole voyage, what Mitchell's talking about, y'all have to check it out. And I hope I can be there for the live stream tonight.
Thanks.
I might be lurking because I got to get.
Do you take Venmo or Cash App? What do you? PayPal?
I take New York City cocktails, which were like what,
New York
$30 a pop now,
which are like $25 a pop.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Something
thanks.
like that.
I appreciate that. I spent a lot of time on it. Like every night, and all my free time. I don't really watch movies. I don't really do much else. I don't play video games. I just work on this stuff all the time. So thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we are out of time, but this has been very interesting. I want to thank you both, and I want to thank folks in the chat, moderators, and everyone who's new for sticking, for passing by and for hearing. This is getting better by the day. If you wish to know which guest we have for next week, please go to the Discord of the GSG, and we have all the information there.
One more time for Kid Pochoclo too. Throw some love.
This wouldn't be possible if you guys weren't as awesome. I know, because I had to interview some not at all awesome people.
No. You started that sentence and you're like, nope, you shouldn't.
No, but not here. Not here.
Okay.
Not here. No.
Not here.
He's saying in his journalism career, he's had
Yeah.
Not pleasant.
Yeah,
to interview
politicians and people like that. You know, that gets hard. But this is very, very nice to do. Goodbye,
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
everybody.
everyone.
Good
Thank
chatting
you
with
for
you,
listening.
Mitchell and Kid. Thank you.
Yeah.
My
I'll talk to you
pleasure.
soon.